Hey everyone, what's up? Sketch here again, community manager at 343, and I'm joined today by Clay Jensen. He is a design director on the Halo Wars 2 team. How's it going, Clay?
It's going good. It's good to see you.
Good. Thanks for joining us. Last week we had Max and Tori here, played some Terminus Firefight. I don't know if you saw it, but big ratings,
Yeah.
big stuff. We had a lot of fun. Today,
Max has
though,
been signing, stuff in the halls and just
that they have. They're
yeah,
celebrities now,
absolutely,
right? I don't know if you
absolutely.
heard that we actually have a new team member now called Corey, who became an overnight internet sensation. So
That's true.
Corey's not here today. It's just Clay and I. We've also got your main man, Grim Brother 1, over here virtually with us on chat. You'll see Grim there. We'll be looking at chat all day. For the next hour or so, our goal is to walk you through the two new leaders coming to Halo Wars 2 on September 26th as part of the Awakening the Nightmare expansion. So if you aren't familiar, which I'm sure right now I recognize your names in chat, I know we have a lot of our regulars here, but Awakening the Nightmare does come out in just over a week and a half. It includes a brand new Banished campaign extension where you're going to play through missions from the Banished perspective, which includes a mysterious and ancient foe.
Indeed.
Return of the Flood, which we've been promoting, and a lot of excitement out there for that. But as also part of that, you'll get Terminus Firefight, our new multiplayer cooperative mode, which we showed off last week, and two brand new leaders, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And these are the Brute Brothers, as I've kind of been referring to them internally. I don't know if they're actually related. Graham, can we get a lore check on that?
Yeah, it's true. They dress exactly the same outfit, same ties and stuff. It's a little creepy, but once you get used to it,
like the Step Brothers movie with
exactly.
Brutes. Okay, unconfirmed spinoff on the way from Grim Brother 1. So today, Clay's going to play. Our goal today is not to demonstrate the most elite level of play. Last week, our viewers were a little harsh, giving us a hard time because it was not an easy.
It would be
feat.
even worse now. I think I can, I'll probably demonstrate my.
So my only expectation for you is to play through and show us the new leaders. Let's see the new abilities. Let's check out the new units. Let's talk about what makes them new, cool, and unique. And that's it. You don't even have to really win the game. So we're going to have Clay play against the AI just so it's nice and casual. And we're just going to kind of do a show and tell, go through each leader one by one. I'll be watching chat. We'll look to answer your questions as we go. And I guess without further ado, Clay, when you're ready, looks like we're going to jump into a custom match here.
So yeah, we've already talked about the fact that we're going to do kind of a basic match here. We're going to start off with Voridus. So as we were saying, obviously, Voridus and Pavium are both the two, as you say, the two Brute brothers, and both are quite different from each other. Voridus tends to be, I want to say more aggressive, more risk-takey, more kind of fast attack.
Okay.
One of the things that's notable about him is that he doesn't have a ton of healing abilities, so he's kind of all in.
Okay.
You kind of got to commit to him and go for it. But he's also very experimental. So as you'll see, he's been messing with a lot of Covenant tech and developing some new toys.
Okay, interesting.
So
that's kind of how I play, just fast and loose,
Yeah.
I usually don't have a chance to regret my mistakes because it either succeeds or I fail.
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes usually for me as well. You just kind of.
So right away, I'm hearing some new dialogue.
Yeah,
very broody.
The audio for both of them is fantastic. I mean, the Brutes in general have been pretty awesome, I have to say, but they definitely don't disappoint. Sometimes I get distracted just kind of listening to their chatter.
Oh, another thing I should warn you about is our viewers are very hardcore about any leader powers being squandered and not assigned. So it's usually a call out. I think maybe a drinking game might have been formed last time, anytime Max didn't spend a leader power. But why don't we kick things off with the leader power? I see right down here. We've got one. Let's pull up the leader wheel for the first time, and let's see what our new Brute has to offer here.
I can't resist having him do something while
I know, you just got a micro.
Yeah.
You got a micro.
So the two first choices that you've got right off the bat are kind of interesting ones. So the infusion plasma is the technology that Voridus uses across the spectrum, right? So for his units, for his leader abilities, this is basically Covenant banished plasma that he's been experimenting with and doing very, very bad things to.
Okay.
So it tends to be fairly volatile, it tends to be dangerous, and it stacks well. So you want to get it out on the field and use it, and get units out there that are also going to help you keep stacking more of it out there. So the infused mine, for example, mines like any other, except when you detonate them, they are actually going to cause infusion pools to start being left on the battlefield. So if somebody comes along and steps on it, you can already see a little bit of it there, starting to kind of creep around. If that goes off, that's going to be a much bigger area, and that's going to start to slow and damage units that are standing in it or pass through it.
Okay, and that lasts quite a long time, you're saying?
Yeah, infusion, like there.
There we go.
There you go. So that took quite a bit, and you can see it's actually cooking down the Marines that are sitting in it. So that'll stick around for a while, and you can actually use this quite to your advantage in terms of unit control, trying to channel or choke off units. It's actually very, very useful. I'm sure they're all very useful.
Yeah, of course. Awesome.
Very useful. So infusion is at the core of his theme. He's got a number of units that are able to use it. I was just going to say, as we go up to the leader wheel here, one of the things you'll see here is the Grenadier drop. His Brute Grenadiers are built out of the barracks. They'll come out a little bit later, but they can actually distribute more of the infused plasma as they shoot. His other unique unit that we'll get to in a little bit here are also his Infused Engineers. They act like regular engineers. They can heal and so forth, but they can also deploy, instead of doing just the shield, they can actually deploy infused plasma as well. So
I see two quick questions actually on our chat about the infused plasma. Great question here by Spooky Monk. Does it affect all units, ground and air, or just ground?
That's a great question, actually. It just affects ground units.
Okay.
But that is not entirely true.
Oh.
Under certain circumstances, it can also affect air units,
intriguing.
as we'll see.
Okay.
But yeah, primarily it's used against ground units, and that's a really good point, because obviously from a tactical standpoint, that's one of the ways that you're going to have to try to counter him. Is if he starts going with his infusion, air can be kind of a strong option for him, especially once you get into kind of tier 2 and tier 3. Let's just get it. Since we're kind of playing and talking here, why not be safe?
Yeah, might as well build things up. I would hate for you to lose to it. Is this normal or easy? I wasn't paying attention when you started.
I think it was normal.
Okay, so
the embarrassment factor could go up here. It's only like kind of talking and playing at the same time.
It's not easy, is it? That's why this time I'm just going to sit here, talk, make jokes, point out your flaws.
Yeah, it's you always get locked into your own thing when you're playing.
Speaking of flaws, leader power unassigned.
See, look at that. See, already slipping. So let's go for the next one. Now this one, I'm sure people will instantly see the benefit of. Combat spoils allows you to scavenge resources from buildings you damage.
Okay.
So for those inspired players out there, as you get across and start putting the hurt on someone else's base, you're actually going to start siphoning off resources back to your side.
So are you taking the resources from their pool and adding them to yours, or you're just adding them to your own?
You're basically converting.
Still great though,
damage.
like you said. He's a fast push kind of character.
Yep.
Is rewarded for aggressiveness.
And like I was saying, one thing you'll notice there in his leader power wheel is that he doesn't have, well, I shouldn't say anything that heals, but he has not any kind of dedicated healing abilities. So like I said, you've really got to kind of get in there and use his infusion, use his units, get the kind of forward momentum going, and that will pay off.
Gotcha. And for anyone that's joining us late, just to catch you up real quick, I'm Sketch, Community Manager at 343. I'm joined here by Clay. He's the Design Director on Halo Wars 2. And we're showcasing our 2 new leaders that are coming out on September 26th as part of the Awakening the Nightmare expansion for Halo Wars 2.
I'm sure there's somebody out there who's going, why in the hell isn't he going for expos?
Just kind of feel your way through it. It's fine, and we're keeping an eye on the chat here too.
By the way, don't try this at home. This is not the most efficient strategy.
Well, we just want to show off the new units, talk about the leaders. If you have questions for us, hit us up in chat. I'm keeping an eye on it. So is Grim Brother Juan. So we'd like to hear from you. do our best to answer your questions if you have them around Awakening the Nightmare.
Almost about. Oh, look.
And here comes our next leader
Look at
point.
this.
So we talked about the infused pools. We just talked about sort of scavenging from enemy buildings. What else do we got here?
So we've got we've got a few choices now since we've gotten up to the.
Why don't we ask the
next
chat
tier.
what we should pick?
Ah, yes, here we go.
Pull them back up. Let's see what
Here we
the
go.
choices
So
are.
Grenadier will actually drop a veteran brute Grenadier, which we haven't seen yet.
Okay, and then when it lands, it's going to create an infused pool, it looks like, right?
Exactly. So with a lot, just like you have with a lot of other dropped units, aiming them, using them tactically when you bring them in is a good idea. Drop them on enemies, drop them on buildings or nearby. In his case, he'll actually put that pool of infusion out and immediately start to kind of help win the fight in terms of slowing down and damaging units that are nearby. Then you've got Infusion Wake, and this is one of the primary ways that you can actually get those infusion pools out onto the map quickly.
Okay.
So this is like a glassing beam or something, except it's actually delivering infused plasma onto the battlefield.
Okay.
And the last choice, well, not last choice, the next choice we have here is Invigorating Frenzy. So this is where you start to see the synergy of what he's doing with infusion pools and bringing it back to his own units, right? So I was saying before that he couldn't heal. That's not entirely true because in here, the units that you have that are your friendly units that are standing in the infusion can start to get some of that healing back. And it's also true with structures and so forth as well.
Is that for
right?
ally units as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah. So again, team play in 2s, 3v3. He's going to be really interesting to see what he can
and
do.
what's our last choice here?
So Infusion Tech just takes all that stuff that you're doing with Infusion and makes it better.
Cranks it
right?
up a notch. Okay.
It basically increases the damage of them, but it also reduces the cost on Brute Grenadiers and the Engineers.
Nice.
So again, Infusion is the thing you kind of want to, well, you really have to take advantage with him to get the full benefit of.
All right, so let's ask our viewers here in chat. Let us know. Or what's our Infusion Wake? What should it be? Anybody have first person that gives us a pick there in the chat? You will determine Clay's fate. Kind of getting a big Ghostbusters 2 vibe from this character. You know, isn't that the movie that had all the goo?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
okay.
I just watched it again recently, and I think if you had a team of 3 of them, you know, all together, just infusing. Exactly.
It looks like Infusion Wake. I'm seeing Frenzy, I guess, technically was the first choice.
Oh, okay.
So
well, I would almost hold off on Invigorating
we don't have
Frenzy.
any pools
we don't
yet,
have
right?
a lot of, exactly.
Right. What a scrub selection. So, you know what? Use your designer instincts. Override the chat.
Okay.
Why don't you go with
I
what
think
you think?
we'll show off the Infusion, Wake here first.
And we could still build our own Grenadiers from our own structures, I assume. Right?
Absolutely.
So maybe let's keep going in that direction. There was a question I saw scroll by earlier. Are Grenadiers primarily kind of an sort of anti-unit, or are they anti-structure? If you had to classify them.
They're both.
They're both. Okay. There you go.
Primarily anti-structure, but they are very useful in a couple of different scenarios. And again, going back to Infusion, things that can put Infusion on the battlefield are helpful in a lot of different ways.
Okay.
It's when you're using that together. So they're great at anti-building and like I say in anti-infantry they're powerful as well.
Okay. Good stuff. What's going on back at our base here? What do we got? Anything new and noteworthy? That looks new over there. I see the Grenadier.
Exactly. So we have the Brute Grenadiers, but the upgrade that you can get with them are the hard target detonators. And that's going to increase their grenade damage. So again, fairly straightforward, but that just is going to improve their ability.
Yeah, seems like something you would probably want to do, right?
And of course, also want to keep the AI from wiping you out in the middle of the demo.
Taking a look at, can you build his hero? Well, I assume Clay will get to that. I don't think he's able to quite unleash him yet, right? But we're working that way.
Absolutely. Oops.
I will say, right when we sat down, Clay realized none of his cheat codes would work because we don't want the screen to be full of debug spew. So he's going to have to work for this in real time, folks. He's got to earn these points. Speaking of points, leader point.
Oh, there we go.
I think it's a note for production. Next time, it'd be cool if we had like a little a theme song or a chime, some fanfare anytime we have a leader point arise. So
there you go. Well, I mean,
next time.
Let's see if we've got any. No, we don't actually.
Looks
have
like
any.
you got some infused goo on the ground.
Yeah, I think maybe what we'll do is we'll take the Grenadier drop
Grenadier
here.
drop. People have been asking for it.
And you can see a couple of the other guys. You saw all that infusion that just showed up there. One of the things that the Grenadiers can also do is use the infusion and suck it up to buff their speed and buff their damage and buff their armor.
Wait, and now
So
is
they just stole that Grenadier basically just sucked up all of the infusion that was around it.
So
and
how
now
long
he's
are they
getting a
buffed
buff.
for now?
It's
Is it on a timer or
yeah,
is it
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But the infusion's no longer on the ground.
No, exactly.
Actually,
so
does
you
that
can,
little ring above their head represent?
So now it's off, but
Okay.
but basically that was buffing.
But if you're in a pinch and you just need to do maximum damage output, you suck up that infusion and just go superpower attack.
And
Okay.
in that case, what you could do is you could actually throw down pools of infusion to damage and slow the enemy. And as soon as that's done, then you can use your Grenadiers to suck it up and get a damage buff, and then go forward and
I
do
like
it again.
that.
So
Very cool.
again, it's kind of using that plasma wherever you can. And another way to do that is, of course, with the Infused Engineers.
So this
so
is a little
these-
bit of a different take on the engineer.
Yeah, so they're still doing the repairs and heals that they did before, but now they can actually throw pools of that infused gel as well. You kind of see the theme here. There's a lot of this
Goo.
radioactive goo going
That's-
everywhere.
Yeah, that's totally why I feel like this is the Ghostbusters 2 of Halo Wars 2 right here.
I'm just going to throw.
I have seen a couple questions in the chat about the 2 new maps. Yes, there are 2 new maps that are going to come out on September 26th as part of that update. They're free for everyone. They're not tied to the Awakening the Nightmare expansion. We're going to look to show those off next week, so I know people are eager to see them. You'll have to just kind of stay tuned. Next week we hope to show off both new maps as well as Spectator Mode, another new feature coming on September 26th. I'm getting a live breaking whiteboard sign display from Grim off camera. Yes, I would like to promote the fact that in this afternoon's community update on Waypoint, Grim Brother 1 has some first looks at some of the lore for Voridus today. So we'll kind of see some concept art, I believe, and hear a little bit more about Voridus and some of his units and abilities. So check that out on Waypoint a little bit later this afternoon. Will the mines leave the infusion pool when destroyed? Yes, those mines do, absolutely.
And one of the things you can do, I mean, putting down infusion wherever you can is always a good idea. Like I said, in some cases you can actually hold units in place. As you'll see in a little bit, as we get to higher and higher leader powers, there's more and more you can do with it.
Gotcha. So like in a team game, you could basically work together to very quickly cover a large amount of the map in infused goo.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that well, his ultimate ability is Cataclysm, which basically takes all of that radioactive infused goo you have and lights it on fire. Well, not on fire per se. It just causes a very unpleasant chain reaction. Let's
Nice.
put it that way.
I like it. Like a little kind of mini napalm effect. What's our
You can see-
status on? Young Burke is getting impatient. He would like you to build this leader ASAP. I know you're working
Fair enough.
towards that. It's the slow build here.
Oh dear. Yes, I'm sorry. We've been kind of chatting.
That's
and,
all right. We got a lot to
So
get through.
here's Voridus himself.
There he comes.
Obviously a melee hero, but his first upgrade is that it's going to increase his health and damage, obviously, as most hero upgrades do. But every time he strikes, he'll actually leave infusion pools with his hammer, which obviously is.
And sorry, what was that upgrade that he had that I just saw? What does that do? What does that do for us?
So this is his first.
Okay.
Yeah, this is his first upgrade.
Okay.
And that's basically going to add to the mix out there. So again, I see in the mini map that as we're doing this, we're getting.
I do see an unallocated leader point there when you have an opportunity.
I'm just going to get a couple of these guys.
I feel like our viewers are falling behind. They usually notice that stuff before.
They got a good, give us a good nudge there, a good reminder. Okay, so let's have a look at what else we've got next. So,
decisions.
Invigorating Frenzy, again, this is one that is going to actually be that heal. I'm going to go ahead and take that.
Because
throw
now
that.
you're able to start putting more infusion onto the battlefield. It makes a little more sense.
Well,
right?
and unfortunately, I kind of triggered it there. We didn't have a heck of a lot on the field at the time. But if you've got the infusion pools laying there, that's going to use that basically to give you a buff and to heal your units, which is a great thing. Again, once you've laid it down, really the trick is getting the infusion out there in whatever form you take, whether that's your engineers casting it, for example. Of course, he dies. But getting the infusion out there and then using it to your benefit, either to boost your own troops or to debuff the enemy.
Gotcha. Is there a new Scarab? Is the Scarab different? In
The infused
Scarab. All right.
Let's see.
I've seen some questions about that coming through in the chat. So he has a couple familiar vehicles units that have just got this new infused twist on them.
The volatile Scarab.
Oh, so this thing, all of its beams put the infused gel out. Okay.
Yeah. So again, you can see how all of this kind of stacks towards him having stronger and stronger ability.
Oh, and you just took another upgrade to our hero there.
Yeah. So
Where are the
kind of parking? I'm
megaturns?
kind of parking here, at our base.
Infuse all the things. That's solid advice. Infuse everything.
We haven't been actually expanding. We've been kind of chatting.
It's all right. Don't worry about it. I mean, if you had to pick one of the Brute Brothers, do you have a favorite? It sounds like they're going to play very differently.
They do play very differently.
Possibly work very well together.
Yes, I think they absolutely do. There is, I have to say, I think Pavium's going to be a crowd favorite.
Yeah.
As you'll see.
Okay.
But personally, there's something just really interesting and devious and sneaky about Voridus. He's one of those leaders that it really pays off. Good micro, good planning, good layering of leader effects, and working well with teammates definitely pays off with him. So I think in a way, it's sometimes easier to see Pavium's like instant appeal. You know, he's got a lot of really top shelf kind of offensive abilities, but Voridus, in my opinion, is more satisfying when you can play him well. I think once you kind of build up to it, you know, it is a bit of a slow burn, but once you get him fully going, it's pretty devastating.
Well, sounds like I'll never know if the condition is play him well. But I like what you're describing.
It's a thing. It's an aspirational thing.
Yes.
You know, it's kind of, you know, shoot for the moon. And
I saw a question in
the
chat scroll by moments ago about does this Scarab have the Y ability?
Yes, maybe we could touch. Maybe we could touch on
in
that.
response to the fact that the Y ability has been temporarily removed from the game, right?
So here's Voridus's next upgrade, which is to increase health and damage again, of course. But he also becomes passively cloaked when standing in infusion pools. As I was saying, that sneaky, that sneaky kind of punishing effect that he has, kind of gets more and more so as you go along.
Nice.
And we've got another leader point.
Yes, we do. All right, so we can.
Okay, so we haven't upgraded our infusion plasma, but we have unlocked. You'll notice that he gets teleport.
Oh. Which
is also very handy. Basically his drop ability, and we're getting shelled. I'll back up here. So his assault pack, which is basically his drop ability, will give you an Infused Engineer, a Marauder, which is very. Oops.
You got a little.
They're not cooperating. We're trying to do all this.
Yeah. Oh, look at that smash right there! Just spread infused goo everywhere. I like it.
I think what we're gonna have to do though, maybe there is take the next one on the list.
Oh, you're going straight for the top tier, huh? And what is that? Cataclysm? Is that
So
the one
Cataclysm,
that's on fire, you said?
Cataclysm basically takes all of that infusion that you just laid down and actually starts cooking everybody with it. So it just kind of overcharges the infusion plasma and causes a ton of damage. We'll go back and look at that in a second here. Let's see if I can. not
quick
get
question
Mac
from the
blasted.
stream here from Hectorlo. Will the new firefight have matchmaking or not? Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Indeed.
3 players can play cooperatively. You can join your friends or find new friends to play with online. So we're watching Clay here demo one of our new Awakening the Nightmare leaders against the
Roughly.
AI. Trying to put on a good show for us here today. Mostly we just want to show off all these great new units and abilities.
Let's get a little bit of...
But it would be a shame if Clay managed to lose.
To lose right here.
Normal AI.
No, the thing that I was going to mention earlier, we were talking about
the Scarab
the infused
right?
Scarab. Yeah, it's definitely worth mentioning. In the last patch, I'm sure there's a lot of players that were wondering what in the heck we were thinking when we removed its Y ability. I just wanted to reassure everybody that that is a temporary situation. We actually uncovered, with the help of the community, we actually uncovered a potential exploit with Scarabs that was pretty nasty. It was an unusual bug, but once you understood how to do it, it was making them very tough to deal with. So that is a bug that we have a fix for.
Okay.
But unfortunately, that's going to have to wait for the next content update to go in. So
well, that's just barely a week and a half away, right? You're talking about the September 26th update. So not only will you get the 2 new maps, Spectator Mode, Awakening the Nightmare drops, but the Scarab Y ability will return in its full glory.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, so that was really just
already excited about 926.
Yeah.
Now it's really going to be tough to top.
Yeah.
Mega turrets looked cool in the B-roll.
Oh yes, mega turrets are very cool.
They are.
Once we get to Pavium, we're going to be making some of those.
Okay. I actually have no oh, there's a clock. Okay, I think we're okay for a little bit. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll have to see how this goes. We may not have time to finish the whole match. I do want to make sure we get to show Pavium.
We won't have time for the AI to actually finish me off here.
We could probably just assume that you'll win. I mean, of course you will, right? But
oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm not sure you'll win quickly. This could go on very long.
This could go on, forever. This is kind of terrible. All right, we'll keep.
Tell Clay the rally point on mines actually blows up enemy mines. Okay.
Okay.
Well, there you go, young Burke. Your message has been delivered. Clay hears you.
You can see that this is. So, so just to point out, so Maelstrom is a great ability, basically creating the vortex that will suck all enemy units towards the center, do damage to them, but continuously pull them into the center.
So you could pull all of the enemy units right into a big mess of infused goo that you've already laid your trap for. Okay, I see where you're going with this.
And then Cataclysm them, and then if you have teammates, they could throw all sorts of other nasty things on them and just keep them there. So that's obviously a very powerful ability as well.
For sure.
We talked about his drop,
about teleport,
Maelstrom, and then this one, obviously, Infusion Tech really just, like I said, it kind of improves the overall strength of it and makes it more useful.
What is the 11 o'clock? Maybe he's referring to the wheel there. Is that the... Which one was that? Is that the one we just got? Are you? Oh, you're using that beam now to paint more infused goo on the ground, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And then, for example, you can light up that area, and all of these units are going to be debuffed and start taking further damage.
I see it. I see it happening.
Yeah. We haven't actually used that on an enemy base yet, but I can tell you that it works.
When is Halo Wars 2 going to get added to the club tournament mode? I don't know if that's the same thing as Arena or not, but I do know that Arena integration is on the way.
Yep.
We don't have a lot of those details with us here today, but we're going to try and get a little more insight if we can for stream next week. But we are pretty excited about empowering the community to essentially start to run their own tournaments, as I understand it. That, along with spectator mode, I think should be A pretty exciting addition for the Halo Wars 2 community.
Oh, look at that. There we go. Oh, there's
Leader point. All right, you got this Maelstrom now? Okay.
Let's see if we can find some units that have been, kind of pummeling us here.
Don't know if it's the video compression, but undetonated infusions seem really hard to see.
Oh, yes. That might be on there, and it can be this
map
in particular is quite dark. Yeah, so it's definitely more obvious in daytime maps.
Gotcha.
Or in brighter areas, yeah. As we get shelled.
Can we see the Scarab? Is there any way we can bring that bad boy out to play?
Well, let's see.
Nope, not yet.
Almost.
We cannot see the Scarab. I'm sorry, folks. Stay tuned as we watch Clay's energy meter slowly crawl to 2,000.
Yeah, exactly. We could go and take another power.
Yeah, there you go.
Speed things up just a little bit.
Go.
Trying to find something to use Maelstrom on, but so far we haven't had much luck.
I'll throw some other random questions at you from the chat here. Darth Nint is asking, in Terminus Firefight, does the enemy AI also use DLC units, things like Flame Warthogs, Goliaths, or is it only the base default units?
Yes, it does.
It does use DLC units.
Yeah.
Cool. In fact, I think you'll see a lot of those DLC units throughout the Waking the Nightmares expansion and campaign as well, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's been a great thing about the campaign is actually getting to bring those together. Oh, here's one. Well, I can try it on this guy. It's not going to do a heck of a lot to him, but you will at least see the fact that now you can. If we had a lot of units there, it would be more obvious. And
Gotcha.
that vortex is going to keep working for as long as it's on there. So if new units were to move in here, it'd be a bit like quicksand.
Right,
yeah,
gotcha.
you get them right into the middle.
Then you drop a Grenadier on top of them, maybe have a mine down there in the first place.
Absolutely,
I like it. Young Burke asking about whether or not 343 will host Halo Wars 2 LAN tournaments at Microsoft stores. Great question. I'm not really sure at this point. I'd love to see where things land once Spectator is live and arena support and the expansion is out the door. I think it's a great question, something that we can certainly talk to our Microsoft Store friends about. I know the Halo 5 store tournaments have been going really well, so it could be a cool addition to that program, but we'll have to see. Clay's finally kind of on the offensive here, pushing north a little bit, trying to make a strong play. Just leaving a trail of
infused goo everywhere.
Everywhere you go.
just making a mess of it out there.
How many cutscenes will there be? Well, there are definitely some really gorgeous blur cinematics included in the new campaign as part of the Waking the Nightmare expansion. I'm not sure what the exact number is, but they're cool. It's really awesome to see that one cinematic. I won't spoil it, but let's just say that we see the Brute Brothers in action. We see the Flood that we haven't seen in a long time. Blur has brought them to life in a glorious way. I'll even say that recently, maybe a few lucky fans got a chance to see that cinematic, and I might have seen one or two grown men move to tears. It's a true story.
They are pretty awesome.
It is a thing of beauty.
I can't wait for people to actually get to see them. That's always one of the hardest things is once you've worked on it for that long and you've seen it for a long time, you just want to kind of share it with everybody. So that's
well, I'm looking at the clock here, Clay. It looks like we're already about halfway through our window. We do have a whole other leader to get to, so I'm feeling like we'll just go ahead and kind of give this one to you and just call it. Well,
it's so close, isn't it?
It's it is,
it's gonna be like a cliffhanger,
right?
isn't it?
I feel
just
like
leave it there for.
We're still so far away from this 2000.
We're still so far away from victory.
I think it's called a cliffhanger. I think we will see the exciting conclusion of the Scarab build on September 26th when Awakening the Nightmare comes out.
Oh, look,
for Halo
there it
Wars
is.
2.
Oh,
there he is. Okay, it looks like a Scarab to me.
And all of his infused.
Let's see. I want to see his goo shooters before we switch off.
He said that.
We're just making up, new official terms here. I can't wait to read Grimm's next Halo lore book where it talks about infused goo shooters, Ghostbusters 2 references. We've got it all here today, folks.
Maybe we could have an upgrade for him so that he can walk faster. What do you think?
See,
super,
if you had
super
your,
fast.
If you had your debug cheat mode right now,
exactly,
we
he would just be zipping across
we'd
the
be
map.
done.
Yeah, I'd have won by now. It's the only way that I probably will win, actually.
All right. Well, we did see the Scarab. I think it's safe to say you're going to win. I do think people would like to see the other leader, though, right?
Absolutely.
We've only shown one half of this awesome leader package. So why don't you just unleash your abilities here? Let's go out on a high note. Goo up the space. Look, there's the Scarab. He really is blasting goo. It's all goo all the time.
All the time. And, oh, here we go. We'll just, like, kind of give him a little gooey kind of infusion.
Up, now you're painting the base.
Painting the base.
And now you're going to light that goo on fire?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Wow.
And then things tend to die.
All right, well, that's pretty glorious.
See, it was just holding off there, just like, wanted to build up the tension.
Yeah, it's good. You really had the audience on edge, and you delivered.
There we go.
Well done to that, Clay. I think we should switch over now, so go ahead and we'll give you the victory. You won it. We're going to resign. We're going to shift over because, of course, we got 2 leaders coming out on September 26th.
Indeed.
The Brute Brothers, as we've now officially dubbed them.
Indeed.
And
the other half of the equation.
As we're getting set up here in our next game, what can you tell us about the other half of the Brute Brother?
Pavium's, he's really the one that's in charge.
Okay.
Yeah, he's kind of, he tries to keep Voridus, in line, I think, a bit. But somebody has to, So
well, the guy's just like mental on goo, right? He's just
he is exactly
goo all the time.
Exactly. So I think Voridus is kind of a steady hand.
There he is. Okay. Well, who has the better hat? I mean, that is an interesting.
It's a good argument. I have to say there.
Yeah, Buckethead versus I don't know. What would you call that, Grim? What is the lore description for Pavium's?
For Pavium's.
What is that?
Helmet.
A little landing platform. Looks like a little scallop shell, maybe, like a little seashell. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what he can do.
Sundial. He could kind of stand and yeah.
He's all right. So we're jumping back in here for part 2 of our new leader doubleheader, previewing new content coming to Halo Wars 2 September 26, Awakening the Nightmare expansion. I did see a question earlier. Somebody was eager to pre-order that. Fun fact, you can't actually pre-order a digital expansion. So hold that thought. It'll be live on September 26. In fact, I'm told possibly even an hour or 2 before September 26. You never know. So here we are right back at it.
Okay.
Clay, our design director for Halo Wars 2, and we are checking out Pavium?
Pavium.
Pavium, all right. There we go. Keeping track of these guys.
Okay, yeah, a little bit economy going here. So as we were saying, Pavium really has a different approach. I would say that if Voridus is all risk and aggression and just getting out there and kind of no holds barred and kind of applying all of the infused plasma all over the target as fast as possible, Pavium actually is more defensive.
Okay.
I think there are people that will probably argue that fact because he has some very potent offensive skills as well.
Okay.
But his soul really is in being a bit more defensive and being able to build a good foundation. And you were talking about them being able to play together well. That's part of that synergy between them, is that Pavium's kind of holding the line while Voridus is running around letting fire at everything.
Okay.
So,
well, you're getting started here with your base. I will gently point out that you're already a minute in. You haven't even touched.
We haven't even touched a leader power. So, somebody earlier was asking about the mega turret.
There it is.
Mega turrets are pretty cool. You can invest in them straight away at Tier 1. There are going to be good reasons to do that, but Burnout is another tough choice that you have right at Tier 1. I'm going to go ahead and take Burnout because that's going to temporarily buff any of the targeted structures that I have, and that's production rate, resource rate, and damage.
Oh, wow. Okay, so early on, it's good to kind of get things rolling.
Exactly. So we're going to, we'll get a couple of these guys going on here. And then basically what that does is And this one isn't built yet, so I'll wait just a second here. But basically what you can do is you can actually apply that to one of your buildings for an immediate boost. And that is, like I said, the resource rate that's coming in. It also is, if you're in the process of queuing up units, for example,
Yep.
I can target that, and now I've supercharged those buildings, right?
Nice.
So my production rate, build rate, all that stuff goes up. So you can see, again, even though he's got strong defensive abilities, he also has the ability to push out and actually gain a lot of map control pretty early on.
All right. Let's see. Irish is already calling for a nerf of that ability.
I can tell you that yes, there are going to be a number of things with Pavium here that I think are probably going to be very attractive instantly for players.
Sure. Well, you guys are, every time you kind of start to get things settled, we release some new leaders, and it's kind of everything gets
Let's
jumbled
shake
up.
things up a little bit. You
guys have a tough job.
It is always tough because they're, inevitably we've had great parts of every leader that you get really enthusiastic about, and I think that you just want to. Ultimately, when they come out of the door, you really want them to be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that is probably, like as you say, that's probably one of the most difficult challenges is knowing when to ease off the gas pedal and make sure that the fun isn't complicating anything else. Because now when they come out, we'll be 16 different
16
leaders.
unique leaders. That is pretty crazy. And I got to commend you guys too on that September mid-season update that just kind of came out of nowhere and surprised us all. Man, that was extensive. I think it took me 5 forum posts just to list out
to get it all out there.
The sheer scope of changes, and for the most part, everybody seemed to generally think those were all great changes. So, hats off to you and our friends at CA for putting that together.
Absolutely, yeah. There was, and I think, as you say, I think there was not a lot of surprise, some surprise in the size of the patch. One thing that I wanted to say too is that some of those changes we've actually been looking at over the past as long as 2 or 3 months. They've been on internal builds. We've been looking at what's going on across the game, and some of the changes, like I say, that were in there had been kind of lingering in there. We'd had almost as housekeeping changes, so we had been testing those internally for some time. And coming out what seemed like all at once, but
so you mean like just one person posting on Waypoint that a unit is OP or needs to be nerfed doesn't result in an update?
No.
Okay, some science behind it.
There is science. It involves dice.
If you get a moment of kind of calm here, we do have a leader point.
We do have a leader point.
And I do see some questions people would like us to I'd like you to kind of do your around the world leader wheel reveal. So
obviously we haven't invested in the mega turret yet.
Seems like something you'd probably want to get though eventually, right?
Absolutely. So Pavium does have a great healing ability with Enduring Will, and also has an orbital designator. This is one that the benefit of won't be immediately obvious, but I can tell you that as soon as you start building mega turrets, the use will be very obvious.
So you're spotting for your turrets, basically? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you just gave away. Now we know what it is. And
so I think just so we can spin that one, maybe I'll go ahead and build a mega turret here so that you guys can see what we're talking about.
Yeah, let's see this mega turret.
First of all, I think a little slots
let's
going
take, what else do we have on that leader wheel while we got a minute?
So we got a minute here.
Now you
so
got a point to spend. There you go.
So we talked about Enduring Will, which basically is a long-lasting heal.
Healing. We can reveal Fog of War in a little spot.
Yeah, this is almost. Well, I have so many favorites on his leader wheel, but the Rain of Fire is just awesome. This is where Pavium and Atriox kind of have a little bit of a love child, I think, in the form of
wow.
plasma beams from space. It's all happening on the show here, folks.
It is. Wow. You guys really are.
Ultramines is his mine ability, but there is a large cluster of mines that go down.
Mine field. Okay.
Yeah, which is very useful. He also has a new unit, the Wraith Invader. So for UNSC players who are fans of the Mastodon, this is the banished answer to that. So in addition to Phantoms, you also have the Wraith Invader, which can carry units, ground units.
Cool.
Full salvage is another ability that I think players will instantly see the value in. So all of your structures get a slow heal. So when I mentioned his defensive abilities, this is at the core of that.
All structures just self-heal over time.
Yep. You also get a full refund when recycling those existing buildings. So for example, yes, so as you develop your defense over time.
Dude, I could see that in Terminus Firefight when you're cranking out those little satellite bases. That, you know, and eventually they're going to fall. That would be super helpful.
And especially if you've got, you know, other buildings that you haven't been or you're not using anymore on a forward base, and you can recycle those and spend that money towards mega turrets. Because one thing I will point out is even though mega turrets are affordable early on, they do scale in cost over time.
Okay.
So if you're, you know, building extractors, for example, you're used to having that kind of accelerating cost. The same thing happens with mega turrets. They will get more expensive, so you need to build them in places that make sense. But of course, the temptation will be to just keep building them and building them and building them. Why have one mega turret when you can have 8?
We've got Broadleaf, Spider, and a couple other folks. Everybody wants to know what's going to happen after the expansion. I just would like to release the expansion first, so that's kind of what our focus is today. We're not really ready to talk about what lies beyond. First things first, but 2 leaders, Banished campaign expansion featuring the Flood, Terminus Firefight game mode, 2 new maps, arena support, spectator support, whole bunch of balance updates, bug fixes. I think we have some quality of life, key binding sort of updates coming for PC. There's a lot on the way on September 26th. And then, of course, for Scorpio time frame, we have the awesome 4K update coming to console as well.
Which looks fantastic. Ooh. And as you can see, I'm doing a really...
How many mega turrets can you have at once? Is there a limit?
There is not.
No limit.
There is no limit, other than, as I mentioned, the rising exponential cost of those mega turrets. So once you build enough of them, by the time you're done, you could be dropping 2,000 or 2,500 points for each of those turrets. So they do get quite expensive, but you'll see their value for sure. If you're not standing here getting shelled by a siege turret for no reason. I'll back off here and see if we can lure a few.
What other new units do we have aside from that Mastodon equivalent?
Yeah, so let's have a look here. Oh, wait a second. One thing we haven't done is we haven't actually built our hero yet.
Oh yeah, we want to get the actual brute guy into the field of battle. And then you've got a leader point there waiting for you as well. Nerf the limit. All right, we're already having calls for nerfing the limit on mega turrets. So what are our choices here? If we can go full sound, I don't even know if that's going to be that useful in this AI game because they're not really pushing.
I think we should unlock our new Wraith Invader.
Yes, let's see the Wraith Invader. I like it.
Okay, so you've obviously got an upgrade for the Invader as well. The Carrier Overdrive, so this will increase its built-in weapon range. Ah, here we go.
There's mega turrets firing
mega turrets
off.
in action, although we can't actually see. You will notice the target designator there is probably going to miss because it's a jackrabbit, so it's moving. It's moving pretty quickly, and in this case, it wasn't as effective against fast-moving targets.
Okay.
But one upgrade that you can add to a mega turret is called Lingering Death, which basically allows, think napalm.
Yeah, sure.
Something that is going to allow that plasma to burn for longer. The other upgrade that Mega Turret has are compound detonators. So this basically increases the initial impact damage as well. So the combination of those two together obviously is quite good. So we'll upgrade both of those guys.
Nice. Can Mega Turrets hit air or they're only useful against land targets?
No, they can't.
Okay.
Oh, and one thing I was going to point out with Voridus, we were talking about his ability to fight air units.
Yeah.
Cataclysm.
It will.
affects
Okay.
air units. So,
So
once you get all the infusion in there, once you start building up that pool,
Gotcha.
Cataclysm, when it
light
lights everything up, any
Okay.
air units that are staying there are going to get infected, or going to be
That makes sense.
affected.
So that little arrow is basically showing me
So
that a
now-
mega turret is about to rain down some destruction.
Yeah, one thing that we haven't done with getting Pavium on the field yet is his hero has the ability to paint targets
Oh, and that's kind of
as
will focus
well.
fire
He'll
on
have
the mega
actually a
turrets?
Designator shell.
Oh, cool.
So that is the way that.
Let's
So
get
here's
Pavium
Pavium.
out here.
There we
Yes.
go.
Slow and tough. He can repair structures, paint targets, and the painted targets are slowed and have reduced armor.
So, as I was saying though, in addition to that, once you get his Designator shells, the shells start to paint that target. So in addition to the slow, it's basically using that to home in on well, other units nearby are going to attack the painted unit, but that includes your mega turrets. So you can use him as a bit of a fire direction tool, as it were,
Cool.
to actually kind of direct fire from those. So normally you can't, just like regular turrets, you can't normally control where your turrets are shooting. But in this case, if you use him, you can actually take the mega turrets and have them focus fire on a particular target.
That sounds like that'd be pretty useful.
Okay.
OMG, those mega turrets. I hear you, Ed, Peter. I hear you. Does Pavium
Hey, Ed.
have access to Voridus' Scarab? I don't think the Brute Brothers really share units. I'm just going to make that assumption. What's that? What am I looking at over there? Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just a squad size.
Just getting some as we kind of attach more and more
Yep.
things here.
Sure.
So this is his next upgrade. Once you've got the earlier one, so Advanced Designator basically upgrades his special abilities, area of effect, but also increases the drone heal rate. So it kind of just gives him a bit more of a buff as well.
I'm really liking this guy's potential for Terminus Firefight. I gotta say, I feel like
He-
mega turrets there could also be really, really helpful.
Yeah, his map control abilities are really strong.
Actually, both the Brute Brothers, I think, a duo in Firefight. When you're laying down the goo, got the mega turrets. I think that could be really, really strong combination there.
Yeah, if you think about advancing fields of fire, if you think about squads advancing and protecting each other, that's something that he's particularly good at in terms of combining with Voridus and other leaders to kind of have this creeping advance, right? And if you can invest in the mega turrets as you go, you can really defend whole areas of the map.
Does he have a unique Scarab or no?
No,
He doesn't. Okay,
he's
that's
kind
not
of
how he rolls. Just
good old regular
old
Scarab.
regular. Okay, which is no slouch.
But we have the next upgrade for his hero, which is the Reflecting Shield. So at this point, he starts dishing back some of the damage that he's taking,
Wow.
and also further increases his heal rate. So again, there's this kind of creeping build in terms of his defensibility, not only for his hero, but also for all of his bases.
I see that we've got about 8 minutes to go or so on this gameplay stream. So
Let's have a look at. Should we see what we've got a thing to spend here.
Yeah, we do. What should we do? What is
I think
that
we
guy?
have
the
to
Lich
spend it on
Vanguard.
this.
We absolutely right. I think people want to
So-
see that.
We don't have the elephant in the game, but we now have the Lich Vanguard.
Okay.
So this is got to be one of aside from Rain of Fire, which we haven't actually showed off yet. Lich Vanguard is probably my favorite power of his.
Okay.
Aside, of course, from Mega Turrets. As you can see, I have quite a lot of favorites here.
Yeah, you do.
Lich Vanguard basically allows you to bring in reinforcements wherever you need them, along with a Lich that will sit there and do close air support for you at the same time. So in this portal, I have the ability to build whatever I want,
And it
as
just
long as this lasts. So this basically becomes a portal for building new units as you need them, right where you are.
Wow. That's cool. Holy Area Denial. Breezy Starfish says, I love this ability. Yeah, I do too. It looks pretty cool.
This is one that I'm sure everybody is going to have a great time with. And I know that people have been talking about wanting to have that forward base where you could actually build. You know, this is really the answer to that. But then adding the ability to kind of help defend those units as they come out has been really, really valuable.
Yeah, that Lich looks like a game changer.
Yeah. I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure there's a lot of people sitting there kind of going, huh, yeah, how's that going to work out? So he is a lot of fun. I have to say, you know, obviously there's been a lot of attention to balancing different aspects of him. We were talking about the mega turrets. Obviously, those are very powerful, but they can be dealt with.
Gotcha.
So,
speaking of balance, I know we're starting to get a little low on time here. You mentioned to me before stream that you guys right now, the team's working on the next balance update for the game, and it sounds like possibly that's going to drop even before Awakening the Nightmare comes out, correct?
Yeah. So we're currently working on some changes that, like you say, are going to be coming out before the release of Awakening the Nightmare.
Sometime between now and the Awakening the Nightmare. Okay.
It's not as big. Oh, here we go. Oh, this isn't going to be an upgraded version of it, but.
Okay, this is your. Oh yeah. Okay.
So that does get better as you upgrade it.
Tammy's got 99 problems and a Lich ain't one. Just for the record.
So back to the
balance
patch
update.
Yeah, so the balance update.
Another server-side update coming out sometime pretty soon, right?
Pretty soon, yeah. We're currently doing testing on that and making some final adjustments. It is not going to be as extensive as the last one. I think there are a few things on Earth that could be, but really, actually, it is just to address some of the things that came out in the last patch.
Okay.
There was a lot of feedback. Both from the community and internally, just through testing, that some of the changes to Marines and some of the opening UNSC Tier 1 options that we had in there proved to be stronger than we wanted them to be. So some of the changes that are coming in that patch, I know there'll be a lot of people that are excited to hear that Marines are going to get backed off a little bit. Some of the other UNSC Tier 1 push stuff that we added in there is going to get dialed down a little bit.
Okay.
So that's an issue that we've been aware of as well, and that's one of the main reasons for the patch, is just to kind of dial that back again. As everybody knows, the Tier 1 balance at the moment is very delicate, so we're just trying to kind of look and see where the last patch went a little too far and just back off, and make some other adjustments too that are going to try to buff some of the banished options
cool.
for the option or for the opener. So anyway, stay tuned for that.
Yeah, of course, we'll have those patch notes on Waypoint in our forums as soon as the test team wraps up their work and you hand them over to me. We will get those posted. And I think it's safe to say once this content drops, we got 2 more leaders in the mix. As you say, we'll have 16 in play. You guys will be right back at it, watching, getting game data, getting player feedback, and looking for areas where you might need to go in
and also one thing, just a shout out also to the community as a whole. The community for Halo Wars 2 is phenomenal, really, really good. And I know that we're not always the most visible, at least you guys are all the time, but the rest of the team isn't necessarily visible all the time, but I can assure you that we're always listening. We're always really appreciate all the feedback. There's been a ton of great feedback, and in addition to all the stats and the testing and stuff we do internally, what we're hearing back from the community all the time makes a huge difference. So
I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's great. You know, of course, we hope to keep seeing the community grow and prosper, but the core that we have is awesome. They're super passionate. They really want the game to be successful, and they appreciate the efforts of yourself and the team to continually keep working to improve Halo Wars 2. With that said, though, we're about 3:58, so we're kind of supposed to wind this thing up around 4 o'clock time. I want to thank everyone for joining us for our second Halo Wars 2 Awakening the Nightmare gameplay stream. And if all goes well, we'll be back next week for one more stream before release, where our goal is to talk about the 2 new maps, give you a glimpse of what those look like, take a roll through spectator mode, sort of show off that, talk about it. Maybe if I get my wish, we could have maybe a Clay versus Max 1v1. With Grim and I doing some casting and spectator mode fly around. I think that might be a good format. And then, of course, if you missed the mention earlier, check into Waypoint later this afternoon for Grim's Halo community update blog, in which he's going to have some new lore and concept art and kind of a deeper look at one of our 2 new brute leaders. I've already forgot which one it is. Grim? Voridus. So tune in to Waypoint a little bit later this afternoon for some additional info. And, of course, remember, Halo Wars 2 Awaken the Nightmare will be yours for purchase on 9/26. And that's it. Until next week, we hope to see you on Waypoint. We'll see you online. Keep an eye out for those patch notes like Clay mentioned. When I have them, you'll